Before I get started, just a quick show of hands. How many of you own WooCommerce stores? Okay, and the rest of you, I'll presume, are developers. So I'm going to talk about Facebook advertising and Instagram as well. For all intents and purposes, Instagram is pretty much integrated into the Facebook ads interface, so you can use these interchangeably. And I'm going to talk to you like we're friends, like we know each other, and we're sitting down for a cup of coffee, and I'm telling you why you should consider using Facebook ads for your business. With all of this information that we have about Facebook, what I think is the craziest part that provides the most opportunity for people like you and I is the way that Facebook tracks its users. They don't use cookies. They use the user ID, which means that as people move from device to device, from mobile, from tablet to desktop, they can track that same person. And because most people don't log out of Facebook and they browse the web while still logged in, Facebook is able to collect all of this data. What websites you're going to, what you're buying on these websites, and they bring this back into their advertising interface. And so this allows people like you and I to reach our audience in an incredibly detailed way that at this point in time, no other ad platform can match. What most people really need to get out of Facebook is not questioning whether or not it works for their business. It's figuring out how to make it work, how to reach the right audience with the right message effectively and affordably. The difficulty with Facebook and Instagram as well, we'll use these synonymously, is that it's an incredibly big platform. It's complex. It has lots of moving parts. Even as an advertiser myself, I don't understand how Facebook can continue to make this huge platform accessible to the small advertiser and to make it understandable as well as user-friendly. It's intimidating for most people. There's not a lot of documentation, and there's not a lot of places to go for assistance when you're trying to figure out how to advertise. So it's very challenging. And this is where most people get discouraged because they lose money because they can't figure it out. It also requires a lot of experimentation and monitoring. You can't set up a Facebook ad and let it run for months without checking it. You have to really stay on top of it because things are always changing, and sometimes what works now may not work in a few weeks as changes are rolled out. If you decide to advertise on Facebook, and all of you should, if you're trying to get customers, if you're trying to get leads, whatever your goal is, you should. One of the things that you should understand is you pay for impressions. If there's one takeaway you can get from me on how to advertise on Facebook is understanding that, because it gets confusing as a platform because people see that they can bid for a click, they can bid for a conversion, they can bid for a lead, they can say, I'm paying 65 cents a click. Well, no, you're paying for your impressions. And every other cost is a calculated cost based on what you've paid for those impressions and the action that those users took. So keep this in mind because your goal as an advertiser is to get the most you can out of those impressions. And I'll give you a few tips to help you do that. Number one, most of the traffic on Facebook is on mobile. So if you have not thought about your website from a mobile perspective, if you have not gone through and optimized it for mobile, you're losing big time. This is one of the biggest hangups, especially for e-commerce companies, because they are still in a place where they're not convinced that a lot of people are making transactions on mobile phones, and they are. And Facebook users make a lot of transactions on their mobile phones. When you think about running an ad, forget your old school advertising knowledge. Don't think of the Google Display Network or these banner ads. You really got to fit into the Facebook ecosystem and start connecting with your audience and engaging and communicating. So don't think, hey, come buy my stuff. Think, this is my audience, and what can I say to them to get a conversation going between my brand or my company and my audience, and even to get my audience members communicating with each other. It is perfectly fine to speak to people in a casual way because this fits in with the ecosystem. If you do a good job with your advertising and you're able to get engagement amongst your audience, one of the best benefits of advertising on Facebook is that you get paid impressions and social impressions. And when you have a highly engaging ad, sometimes your social impressions can equal or exceed your paid impressions. So you can get a lot more bang for your buck, so to speak. When you're looking for your audience on Facebook, at the beginning, I told you that Facebook collects all this user data. And so they know all of the things that we like with an incredible amount of precision. It's almost creepy. When you're trying to define your audience in Facebook, be definitive, but don't go overboard. A lot of people get into Facebook and they get intimidated by what they see, and they start adding a whole bunch of things that aren't necessarily necessary for defining their audience, and they end up messing up the efficacy of their advertising by piling on things like income and household size and geography that aren't necessarily relevant to their business. So be definitive, but don't go overboard. A couple of examples I want to give you. Let's say you're a developer and you want to find people who are interested in WordPress. There's over 11 million people worldwide. That's huge. But being definitive means looking at something like Yoast, because that's a sign of someone who's much more tuned into the WordPress ecosystem. Same with an example of cycling, as opposed to Single Track magazine. Someone who's interested in that magazine is really avid cyclists. I want to give you a quick example of someone that I spoke with who was advertising dog products, and there was a huge pet market, and they were just putting in pet owners and dog food and all of these things. It's a bit vague. So what I advised them to do was to be very specific to the breed of dog and to speak to people who were owners of specific breeds, like bulldogs and corgis and Yorkies. And that way you can more finely tune your advertising because, again, you are paying for impressions and you want to get the most bang for your buck. Another great feature that Facebook has is what's called flex targeting. So you can reach people who are interested in the intersection of a variety of interests, as opposed to someone who may just be interested in a breed of dogs. You can target someone who's interested in a breed of dogs as well as pet food or pet supplies. And so you can further fine-tune your audience. Few tips of mine. You really have to stay on top of your ads. Monitor, optimize, take what you've learned, keep trying. Again, it's a very complex interface, but it's an incredible opportunity. And you have to be willing to go into it as a student. Even if you have a lot of advertising experience from other platforms, put that aside and be willing to learn from Facebook. Commit to success, because one of the biggest mistakes I see from a lot of advertisers is just giving up too soon, spending some money, feeling like they've wasted their money, and not going back and looking at their data and looking at the insights they have from the ads that they've run and trying it again. Because I guarantee you, if you keep committing to succeed, you can succeed on the platform, and it's one of the best opportunities right now for small businesses. Now, at the very least, what you can do is get what's called a Facebook pixel. If you sign up for a Facebook advertising account, there's a Facebook pixel. You can pop that on your website. What that will allow you to do is to build a custom audience of people who visited your website. But more importantly, once you get enough visitors to your website that are pixeled, you can now start to look for insights on your audience in a Facebook tool called Audience Insights. This is where you can get demographic data on your own visitors. What other pages do they like? What interests do they have? You can get all types of income and age and geographical data on your audience. You can also advertise specifically to that custom audience based on actions that they've taken on your website, pages that they've viewed. It's typically lower hanging fruit, easier to get success with advertising because these are people who are already interested in your brand, who've already been to your website. Lookalike audience are also another great opportunity because once you have a custom audience, whether it's from your website visitors or your email list, you can then go to Facebook and say, hey, go find people that look just like these people. And because Facebook has thousands of data points upon which to base this, they're pretty good at finding people that look like an audience that you already have. So just to reiterate, get that custom audience pixel, Facebook pixel is what it's called now, on your websites immediately and start collecting that data, even if you're not sure if you want to run Facebook ads. And use a plugin to set up your open graph tags properly. That's a little thing, pretty easy to do on the WordPress platform, but it really helps set up your site properly for sharing. These are a few of resources that I love, that I listen to all the time if you want to learn more about Facebook ads. A couple of podcasts, Perpetual Traffic, Art of Paid Traffic, a couple of websites you may have heard of, and we've got a couple of coupon codes if you want to grab these. Ad Espresso is a great tool for managing Facebook ads if you find the Facebook interface a little too cumbersome. And Mamaya is a great tool for stores with a lot of products. It's not that helpful if you only have about 5 or 6 products, but if you have a large catalog and you want some help with retargeting people who visited your product pages, it's a really great tool. If you have any questions, you can catch me hanging around, or you can always message me on Facebook. Thank you.